Welcome to this week's 5 and 20. I'm here with Brad. Hey, Brad.
Hi, Casey.
We're going to cover 5 topics in 20 minutes. These are topics from articles that we have found in the last week that we thought were interesting. The first one is we found out from Bankrate.com that Georgia is the best place to retire in 2021. This was ranked basically on several factors: your affordability, the wellness, access to healthcare, culture, what's available for arts, entertainment, right? Weather ranking, and obviously crime was a 10% of the rank, but 40% was based off affordability, which is a large weighting, and then healthcare was next at 20%. So Georgia and Florida, their overall scores, the lowest wins, Georgia ends up at 17.25 and Florida ends up at 17.45. So basically about the same for both states.
It would just be a matter of personal selection at that point in time, whether you wanted more warm weather, more coastline for Florida, or more, mountains, or, city here. So
close second and our third and fourth were Tennessee and Missouri.
Southeastern Conference has got this covered.
Yes, they do. Great places to retire and good sports. Places that you don't want to retire. Maryland came in last. Minnesota, Kansas, and Montana, which I found a little interesting. Maine, Alaska, Montana are all near at the bottom of the list. A lot of times just because poor access to healthcare was the ranking, although they do, but for whatever reason, crime in Montana was ranked a little bit higher than other states. Alaska, crime was very high, which I find interesting.
Montana is a state that a lot of people who are well-to-do have chosen to build second homes out there for big sky country, right?
Yep.
So
absolutely,
that's going to bring a lot of attention to that area, bring other resources, other services. So be interesting to see if that creeps up in years to come.
So we're moving back to the box office now. There's kind of this new world where you can watch things for a premium on your home TV, or you can go to the theaters and see it. So Disney's Black Widow topped the box office.
Topped the box office. Disney rolled it out in both manners that you just spoke. That was the first time ever done. Opening weekend, people could go to the theaters, or they could subscribe to it on their Disney streaming channel. Okay. Now, what was interesting is I thought that, people are electing to go back into crowds, into indoor places with lots of people. We're just happen to be talking about movie theaters here. I calculated based on an average ticket price and the number of revenues that were generated in the movie theaters, that somewhere in the neighborhood of 5.8 million people went to a movie theater that weekend. That past weekend. That's a lot of folks.
Yeah.
2 million people utilize streaming. So we're looking at like a 3-to-1 ratio there, which I thought was also interesting. People still like to go to the movie theater and get the full experience by a 3-to-1 margin. Okay. Internationally, another 6 million people went and saw it as well. So the pandemic is easing. People's fears are lessening, perhaps, getting back out into doing normal activities. So I thought that part was interesting.
Yeah, that's good for restaurants. That's good for vendors in the area. That's good for, obviously, the movie theaters themselves, which have been beat up pretty
really
hard.
Hammered hard. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I still think that a lot of people invested in their homes too. So it's great that you can also watch it at home, and maybe that new entertainment system that you put in your house, or home theater that you put in your house during COVID,
right?
Thinking that you're never going to leave the house ever again, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's exciting. Let's talk a little about the stock market. So Wall Street Journal had a good article this last week, really talking about earnings season as we look at corporate earnings and looking at the price to earnings ratio, the PE ratio. That's one of the things that we focus on when determining a stock is properly valued or not, especially compared to maybe its peers and the overall market. But basically, the article basically states that we have some room to run.
Right. PE ratios have increased this past year. not surprising with the increase in the stock markets, but also as earnings are coming out, first quarter earnings came out and they were something like over 60% higher quarter over quarter. Now, of course, we're comparing it to, the beginning of the economic shutdown period in 2020 versus 2021, where we're the beginning of the opening of the economy. But nonetheless, the companies rose to the challenge and reported second quarter earnings 64% higher in the quarter than a year earlier. So we're looking for continued growth in the second quarter now, perhaps not at the same rate or trajectory, but we're looking at increased earnings, which again support a higher and higher PE ratio. So I don't think that it is the be-all measure for determining whether or not the stock market is overvalued at any given time right now.
Yeah, I think it's all pretty simple, really. What's happening now in the markets is greater than what we anticipated even 3 months ago, and so that's definitely going to give us some short-term boost to holding these values.
I think so.
Probably the big issue that I would see is if inflation surprises us. We talked on our podcast today, our quarterly update podcast, that inflation is expected to come back down, even back down below 2% after this year. It doesn't mean in 2022 inflation will be less than 2%. Just the average over the next 10 years should be around that 2 to 2.4% range. So I think there's still some surprises out there that could happen this year, but still to see the number of companies that are coming in with strong earnings is very encouraging over the last year.
Well, it still, goes back to one of our main tenets of portfolio management. That's to pick an allocation that you're comfortable with, one that matches your goals, stick with it.
That's right. Next topic. I found this interesting. Again, this is another Wall Street Journal article about Dollar Tree. So you think about rapid inflation, we could hit maybe real inflation's like something around 10%. You go to Dollar Tree. I don't go to Dollar Tree that often. I don't know if I've been to a Dollar Tree. I know that a lot of teachers go to Dollar Tree, get supplies for school and decorations and things like that. But everything's $1 at the Dollar Tree.
That's the point.
So if inflation's up by 10%, you would think that some of their products are also up by 10%. But it's a long article. But what I remember the most from it is their margin. So they buy all their products at 43 cents. They will not pay more than 43 cents for the product, and then they sell it for $1.
That's right.
And then they only hire part-time employees.
They hire a lot of part-time employees. They've seen inflation over time. This company's been around for a number of years.
Right.
They know how to manage it. They said, publicly that, we know it's there. We know how to manage this. We're going to be fine. They buy their products from the marketplace way in advance. They're buying products today for things that'll go on the shelf in 2022.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Anytime they can find a value or a discount. I also have noticed the few times I have been to a Dollar Tree, everything's really small. So you're not getting the king size toothpaste for $1. It's like the travel size. Right. So obviously their 43 cents is probably buying less, but there's also probably deals there. The article also talked a little bit about they're starting a $3 and $5 section.
I saw that too. Yes. It's not as successful as the dollar. No. In fact, they own Family Dollar stores as well.
Yes.
Okay. And people who shop at both will travel past the Family Dollar store to go to the Dollar Tree store right. Because after all, it's not $1. It's not $1 at the Family Dollar store.
I thought that was interesting too. But yeah,
it's a great little market plan that they have. They have a niche in the marketplace. They're very big in rural America. They plan to own rural America.
And you see them as you're driving through rural America. They're there. The stock is down about 8% so far this year. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why they're kind of questioning whether or not they can sustain their margins in this environment, I would think. But that
and I would think vaccinations in their buyers, their consumers,
right.
probably plays a huge role as well.
And their Dollar General shares, they're up about 15% so far this year, and that's the one that sells things at various prices.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was
It's an
interesting.
interesting article. It was, yeah. I mean, there's business plans all over the marketplace serving different niches.
All right, so let's talk about the child tax credit with our remaining time here. So can you go ahead and explain the process for child tax credit? Something that's always been there, correct?
The child tax credit has always been there. In the latest go-around of the Biden Family Rescue Plan, I believe it's called, they added this provision where for this year only, 2021, they're increasing the child tax credit per child from $2,000 to $3,000 for children 6 and over up to age 17. And for children 0 to 6, they're increasing the child tax credit from $2,000 to $3,600 per child in each family. And what they're doing that's unique is that they want to get this money into the hands of families right away. And with the idea being that some of these families are being affected by the economic shutdown. So they're paying it out rather than waiting until you file for it on your, take income taxes next April 15th. So they're going to pay it out from July to December in its half portion. So half a year is gone, so that it didn't get paid then. So they're going to pay out the second half of the year from now until December. And then in April of 2022, when people file their taxes, they file for the other half. And then the rate in 2022 goes back to the $2,000 per child after that, unless Congress decides to act upon it.
So basically, you're expecting payments for the rest of this year.
For the rest of this year.
By December 31st, it'll all drop off.
Right. That's right.
So,
but think of a family of 4,
Yeah.
2 children, one over age 6, one under age 6. They're going to get $1,800 for one and $1,000 for two, $2,800 tax free from now and then. As Congress is looking at this and the way they've justified it in their voting, is that they're looking at easing poverty. Quite frankly,
Right.
And that's what they're saying. That this is going to reduce child poverty, and some have estimated as high as by 50%. This is what they're estimating.
Right.
So by getting these payments directly in the hands of the people with children, that money can and will be used for the benefit of the child or the household. And that's we hope.
Which is I think positive, but also a lot of times in very dire situations, which is a lot. Unfortunately, you also have a situation where you're aiding drug people on drugs, people on alcohol, and now there's no checks or balances there.
That's true.
So that's one of the things I get concerned about by doing this. But nevertheless, it's there to help really stimulate the economy and help people where they are, and we'll just focus on the good it does and not the
that's right,
not the harm. But what
so what does it take to qualify?
What is the income
Okay,
limit?
you had to have filed taxes in 2021 this year for 2020. If you did, you're automatically included in the first payments, okay, given that your children are qualified of that
But
age.
what's the household income?
Then the income levels are, I believe, for a household, married household, it's up to $150,000 of income would still receive the child tax credit.
And then
so it's fairly generous.
The single?
I'll have to check. It was fairly generous as well. They're trying to get as much money as they can into the family's hands. So if you had not filed an income tax return in 2021 for 2020, you could contact the IRS and find out more. You could either file your 2020 tax return, or you can make other arrangements with the IRS to do so.
So, and there's a minimum as well. So it'd be $2,000 is the minimum credit per child. Or I'm sorry, the maximum amount of credit is $2,000 per qualifying child.
To answer your question about for a single parent filing, it's $112,500 of income. Okay, so again, it's fairly generous.
Yeah.
Okay.
So $112 for single and
$150 for
$150 for married.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So
And
we'll
if you,
see.
and if you
No,
made
it's-
more, this year than you expected, I assume that you're paying that back at some point. I
it
would
may be
think.
the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the other side to this is more money is being put in, more stimulus dollars is being put into the economy. So for anybody who had been receiving federal unemployment benefits and the additional amount, and have had that taken away or canceled, then this money would come right behind that for states where people are receiving both the state unemployment
Yep.
and the federal employment, and this now, it's even more money. And it's all stimulus to the economy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all deficit for the government.
All right, Brad. That was
Very
good.
good.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks for watching today's 5 in 20. We hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on new videos. Head to wiserinvestor.com and reach out if you have any questions. We would love to hear from you. Today's episode was produced and edited by Lilton Moore.